What's up, everyone? Look who's back. It's your yellow-haired guy, Veldora-kun. For today's video, we will continue where we left. We'll begin with Volume 9, Chapter 1 Part 1, which is Masayuki's journey and the continuation of Rimuru's Tempest Festival. Don't forget to join our Discord server, Veldora-kun Subordinates. Also, please like, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. That's it, let's proceed with the video. Yuki had requested that Masayuki's crew to pack up and move out. They'd discovered evidence of a large slave trafficking market in Valakia, one of the tiny kingdoms that surrounded the kingdom of Ingratia. A fortunate slave managed to flee and then asked for help, requiring the deployment of an investigation. I wanted to say no, but I just cannot resist the sponsor's request. Because you're famous, I'd prefer you guys to be the bait, Yuki said to Masayuki. Masayuki's squad would serve as bait to attract Valakia's attention while the detectives collected evidence of the slave trafficking. Masayuki didn't anticipate any serious problems. Masayuki-san, let's consider helping them out. Even if this leads to war, our force would be sufficient to destabilize such a little country, Jinrei declared, his voice resonating with a strong sense of righteousness. His personality had altered since his loss over Masayuki, becoming so noble that he barely vaguely resembled his former self. He is correct. Slavery is unacceptable in this day and age. If someone as powerful as Masayuki has been sent, the enemy could think twice. In spite of the fact that he was an otherworlder and had a unique skill, Bonnie was not popular or recognized person. Masayuki was still perplexed as to why he was held in such high regard. Rather than displaying a decent side, he frequently spewed nothing but complaints. Despite this, Masayuki was respected and offered a lot of guidance. Of course, I'll follow Masayuki-sama wherever he leads us, Ju said, as she always did. Masayuki's squad quickly accepted the offer and set out for the kingdom of Valakia. A spectacular ball was hosted in the royal parlor home of the Valakia kingdom, and it was visited by royalty and nobles from the nations that are neighboring Valakia. Masayuki, who had been invited to the ball, walked into a scenario so evil that he wanted to run away from it. He witnessed the slave trade in action. Please don't include me in this. Isn't this supposed to be the work of the investigator? Masayuki couldn't believe that this was happening all over again. The mere thought of it made him want to cry. He'd gone to the restroom and overheard people whispering as he walked through a room on his way back. It was at that moment that he came face to face with Count Braver, the man who had introduced him to this land, and they ended up locking eyes. It happened in a split second. I'm sorry, but this is... Count Braver explained, this makes everything more complicated, and there's not much I can do about it if you've already listened to the story. Talented guards were placed up to keep us from being disturbed, but who realized they'd be so easily defeated. Should I mention that Hiro-sama should be expected to do so? Wait a minute. Masayuki's attempt to deny it was cut short when he was interrupted. Be careful. It appears Hiro-sama isn't in the appropriate frame of mind. We must not let him go. Men, go. Assassinate him. The individual who was having a conversation with Count Braver suddenly pulled out a sword that had been hung on the wall and stabbed the Count. He then threw the sword away and began frantically calling out to the guards, attempting to blame Masayuki for the murder. For Masayuki, what happened next was all too familiar. Jinrei, who stood by his side, fixed his gaze on the approaching warriors. Ho ho, they're really crawling out of the cracks, aren't they? You guys, on the other hand, aren't even near to being a match for Masayuki. Allow me to look after you, monster. No, I'm bothered by the hero who trained him. Marquis Gazelle, the man who stabbed Count Braver, scowled at Masayuki. Doesn't it appear that the game is over? Keep your hands down and surrender. Masayuki proposed, assuming the winner was already chosen. Jinrei had already beaten all of the men in the other room who appeared to be on standby. However, he had misjudged the circumstances. Hiro-sama is known for being thoughtful. But consider this situation. Anybody who sees this heinous crime will be on my side. Masayuki imagined Count Braver laying on the floor as he heard this. The frantic footsteps of those who had come to investigate the noise could be heard down the corridor. This is not good, Masayuki-san. Valakia was the name of the kingdom. Even though the hero's fame was well known, Masayuki was merely a visitor. When comparing the credibility of Marquis Gazelle, a well-known figure in the country, to Masayuki, the former comes out on top. Masayuki, on the other hand, was unconcerned. Chosen One, a frightening unique skill, always led the scenario towards Masayuki emerging as a hero. It was the same story this time. Marquis Gazelle gave them a confident look at first, but his expression rapidly twisted with fear. What just happened to me? whimpered Count Braver as he began to regain consciousness. Masayuki-sama, isn't this individual a crucial witness? Since he's still breathing, we'll provide him medical attention. Ju had appeared out of nowhere and performed a healing spell on Count Braver, before turning to look at Masayuki for some compliments. Thank goodness Masayuki is a great guy, brother. If you give an honest testimony, you'll be sentenced to prison for your involvement in the slave trade. However, if you continue to hide it, you'll almost certainly be removed by that person over there. So, how do you intend to go about it? As Marquis Gazelle listened to those words that come out of Jinrei's mouth, who had a devious smile on his face, the truth of the situation hit him. He appeared to have taken in the situation and realized there was no way out, so he chose to give up. With his head down low, Count Braver confessed everything right there on the spot. How did this happen? What is the point of all of this? And then the king of Balakia appeared, as if on cue. The situation quickly escalated after that. They discovered that Marquis Gazelle was among the leaders of an illegal group, which was somewhat startling. But it didn't stop there. It was also revealed that the unlawful organization's main base was in Balakia, and that it was called Orthrus, Slave Trade Union. Following the involvement of Masayuki's A-rank party, a huge number of lower-rank adventurers opted to assist in the destruction of Orthrus, Slave Trade Union. It numbered over 2,000 men when combined with Balakia's royal army, and with Masayuki in command, everyone in the group was affected by the heroic act, allowing them to gain capabilities beyond their previous ability. Even if Masayuki didn't actually do anything this time, it is still possible to claim that the situation is in a better place as a result of his engagement. This is in line with what was anticipated. And Masayuki's reputation as a hero went far and wide, not only in Ingratia but also throughout the surrounding kingdoms. Everything was fine, as usual. It would have been lovely if the story would end there, but there was one additional issue this time. It turned out that among the creatures kept by Orthrus were not only violent beasts that could be slain on the spot, but also some that they couldn't kill that way. That was a group of elves. And the dilemma was how they were going to deal with these elves, who were hoping to go back to the Jura Great Forest, but they couldn't just let them go free. This was because of the way things are in the world right now. They couldn't foresee how Demon Lord Rimuru would respond if the elves reported the harshness of being enslaved by humans. The Jura Great Forest had only recently been taken over by him. He might counterattack in order to demonstrate his strength. The Pharmus Kingdom's tragedy was well known. Even if a big nation like Pharmus was decimated, there was no way a little kingdom like Balakia could stand a chance. Masayuki Dono. Please assist us in resolving this issue. The king, who was typically full of majesty, had slipped away from the gaze of the public to grieve in a secluded room and plead with Masayuki. When Masayuki received the request, he felt too sad for him to refuse, so he accepted it. We're only sending them to Tempest, so I'm guessing there won't be any issues. People who heard that hero Masayuki was coming to Tempest imagined he was going there to slay the monsters. This rumor spread quickly. Unique skill heroic act was a skill that worked so well it was scary. And although that was undeniable, it also had its disadvantages. Masayuki had been so self-assured that he had neglected about this. Masayuki reported on what had transpired this time and the two of them talked about their future intentions. Magic communications were only connected through encrypted messages on specified wavelengths since the Ingratia Kingdom was secured by several barriers. Masayuki shook his head and sighed when the communication was cut off. Yuki has a lot of anxieties. You're absolutely correct. Even demon lords wouldn't be a threat if Masayuki-san used his abilities to their utmost potential. Everything he said was correct. You must wield the sword of justice. Even that woman was unable to defeat the demon lord Rimuru, Masayuki-kun. It's probably best to play it safe. Masayuki had never heard of Hinata and had never met her, but Yuki, whom he admired, seemed to think highly of her. Demon Lord Rimuru might be even more frightening than he originally thought if this Hinata individual was unable to prevail against him. He thought he needed to be extra cautious since he had so many uncertainties. He's right. Demon Lord Rimuru is reported to want to make friends with mankind, thus we should definitely avoid striking first. So the Demon Lord pleaded for his life. Undeniable evidence that Demon Lords are terrible. Well, we don't have an option except to wait and watch how he reacts before taking action. Whatever the situation may be, Masayuki-kun is the only person who qualifies for the label hero since Saint Hinata settled with the Lord. We must act cautiously. Masayuki agreed as well after hearing that. Yes, that's correct. I think we can defeat the Demon Lord if everyone gives me their might, but for now we must proceed with care, Masayuki said, putting his confrontation over Demon Lord Rimuru on halt. As a result, Masayuki's group set out triumphantly on their journey to Tempest. My agenda was completely occupied even after the banquet ceremony. The unusual wonders and sights on show in our country piqued the interest of significant personalities and nobility from other countries. Seeing all of this, it looked like our plan to turn this site into a tourist attraction was on track. Amazing. As one would expect from Miles-kun. Rimuru-sama. This is not a big thing. It's because of Rigurd's successes and everybody in the city who treated everyone with respect. Miles was a humble person. I'm hoping you'll be able to keep up. I'll take care of it. I delegated the remainder of the task to Miles and concentrated on welcoming more important visitors. The meeting room was the venue. Shuna and Ciel were frantically preparing different items, as they needed to plan ahead of time in order to feed so many people. Gazel and Kurobi were also busy, finishing up their rounds and inspecting their exhibits. Of course, I'd welcome the visitors in my human shape, since my goal was to dress up and flaunt my money and power. Despite the fact that being in slime shape was more comfortable, I stopped on it for this particular occasion, believing there was nothing I could do. As a result, I was able to welcome the Western nations' royals and nobility without difficulty. Meanwhile, the King of Bloomin had arrived seeking for me. He seemed to be a charming guy, as if he had come right out of a storybook. At his side was a young-looking queen. They may not have seemed to be a suitable fit at first appearance, but the residents of Bloomin were believed to admire them for being lovebirds. Please accept my apologies for taking ages to express my thanks. It was very advantageous to our nation to appease the Farmus nobility Marquis Mola and Earl Herman, as well as to inspire the Freedom Association and the Western Saints Church to act. You're welcome, Rimuru Dono, he responded hesitantly, but this isn't anything for which you should praise me. All I do was follow the terms of a treaty with another country. Isn't it true that you also heard from Fuse? I'm betting everything on you. It's just our luck that I put it in this nation. You don't have to thank me since there are other causes for profit in those bets. However, I'm grateful that you put your faith in us. I can't help but question whether you're actually a demon lord. After that, his face changed, and he looked me right in the eyes and said, I've heard that Kazakh from our town has been giving you trouble this time. It's wonderful to hear that your folks have been saved. Whatever the case may be, a crime was committed. Furthermore, Kazakh is believed to have stated, do anything you want with those despicable beasts, but there is no need for me to be punished. It would be ridiculous to claim innocence. We have no intentions to make it an actual problem as long as the situation has been securely resolved. I'm grateful for it. However, what will become of Viscount Kazakh? I didn't want to make things worse, but it all relied on how the King of Bloomin handled things. Kazakh is a Viscount, to say the least. That individual has done things that are comparable to abandoning his duty as a nobleman, such as assisting local criminal groups. We can't have such a guy as a Bloomin noble. We stripped him of his title and money, as well as his citizenship, and banished him from the nation. In reality, we brought this matter to a close by destroying his whole family. This may seem to be a harsh penalty, but the slave trade is an international crime. If they gave Bloomin a lesser sentence, he would be quite dissatisfied. I see. I shall consider this as a punishment for Viscount Kazakh. It feels good to hear such words. So, can I interpret this as our nation's relationship being maintained? That's something I'd want to have as well. Then from now on, I'll be in your care. The King of Bloomin and I shook hands and gripped our hands firmly together. The matter came to an end with this. The nobility were just chatting amongst themselves, not wishing to waste our time. After hearing what they required from me, it's safe to assume they didn't need to see me for anything else. They were simple to grasp, and I got the impression that they were kind individuals. We hope you have a pleasant stay in our kingdom. I'll take care of it. I do have high aspirations. The two walked away, leaving those remarks behind. It was the following day after encountering the Bloomin royal couple. The dwarf king Gazelle was the one who came seeking for me. I've arrived, Rimuru. The fact that I haven't rode the carriage in a while now seemed to have exhausted me. He sat across from me, as stately and assured as ever, and reached for the goodies on the table as if nothing had happened. Wait a minute, spare something for me as well. I was too late to prevent him, as it turned out. In the blink of an eye, every single donut I had reserved for later had vanished into Gazelle's throat. So he drinks a lot of booze, but he also has a sweet appetite. I'm not sure I can trust this individual known as Gazelle, either. What a petty numbskull. You still have a lot to learn, judging by how much you sweat the minor stuff. What exactly do you mean when you say, I have a lot to learn? You're the one who ate the whole plate of donuts left by someone else. I dilated my pupils and locked my gaze on him. Gazelle, on the other hand, did not flinch and welcomed the look. The elderly suddenly asked to accompany us, drastically raising the quantity of carriages. Rimuru, it's all your fault. Gazelle remarked. In similar manner, Sue informed me that the route to Bloomin was quite congested. It was so packed that traffic enforcement was required, and all of the inns were fully booked. Car breakdowns were not a common occurrence in modern Japan. Even if that occurred, there would be insurance companies ready to help. When carriages went down, however, it was always a major issue in this world. It occurred to me just now, after hearing Gazelle's words, how important it was for nobility to travel. I had no idea you'd show up in person. Instead, I expected you to send an ambassador. Humph. I couldn't say no. You looked to be scheming something again, and I couldn't rest easy until I saw it for myself and judged it. And I have a question. What exactly is it? You seem to have had a brawl with Hinata Sakaguchi. The story that you and your opponent finished in a tie is untrue, right? I anticipated to be exposed, but Gazelle appeared to already know everything about my confrontation with Hinata. Not only that, but he appeared to be certain that the official statement was incorrect, so I had no choice. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video. It's been a long time. Thank you for patiently waiting for my next update. I would also like to thank my Discord server members and of course, our staff. Thank you for looking out for the server when I'm not around, our head admin. Thank you as well to our admins. Thank you to our manager. Thanks to our developer. Thank you to our head moderators. Thank you to our moderators. And lastly, thank you to my members and supporters. I hope you continue supporting me on my next video. See you.